Hello, 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 and welcome back to another edition of Fan Talk, your favorite podcast by your favorite fan. That is, of course, me, Kyle Brenchley, in the house on this Wizard Wednesday. What's up? Welcome, guys. Fan Talk's a podcast. You can find it anywhere you get your podcast. We're just talking sports here from the perspective of you and me. From the fans watching the game, whether you're on your couch, whether you're in person, wherever you are. That's what we're talking about. And we're talking about a little bit of everything today. Today's kind of a fun episode because we're not focusing super tight on one specific thing. We have a lot to talk about, a few different areas, a few different sports. It should be fun, so sit back and relax. Thank you again for joining. If you're new here, hello. Here is the sign, no candle burning, Rogue One is up. Let's get right into it and let's have a good time. Let me catch you up on what I've been doing personally in my sports world. So I'm a runner. I run quite a bit. I ran in high school. I wasn't quite good enough for college, but I still run now. And I mostly do distance running, like 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons. Never done a full. But I recently ran a 5K, and it's been about a year since I've ran a 5K. And I ran the 5K, the fastest time that I've ever run it, at least since high school. And that was like 9 years ago. So the fastest time I've run in practically a decade. I still have it, ladies and gentlemen. This 5K was just a community 5K in one of the communities around here. 17 minutes and 22 seconds. It's like 5:36 per mile pace. I felt pretty good about that. I'm running another one this Saturday in just a couple days. Can I break 17? I've only done that once in my entire life. I'll let you guys know. I'll update you next week on my time and my result. But that's what I've been up to sports-wise. Let me know if you guys are still playing sports, if you guys are doing cool things like running or swimming or building a boat or jumping out of airplanes. Let me know down below in the comment section. It'd be fun to hear what you guys have been up to this summer. Let's start with soccer. We're going to put a bow on the Gold Cup. As you may or may not know, the Gold Cup is a tournament here in North America to determine who's the best soccer team in North America. It's been going for the last few weeks. I've covered it on a variety of episodes. The United States of America and Mexico were the two teams left standing on Sunday for the Gold Cup final. Mexico had won it 9 times. The United States has won it 7 times. It's a really good odds that one of those teams are going to win it every couple years when they do this tournament. Mexico had won it last, so Mexico's looking to defend their title. The United States were looking to make a statement. Of course, they've won it a bunch in the past, like I just mentioned, but they were the underdogs. They've kind of been on this journey trying to figure out their identity, trying to figure out who they are, and this was a big opportunity to prove to the world that they're ready for the World Cup next year. Unfortunately, Mexico came to play too. Mexico wasn't going to just lay down. Mexico-US, they're rivals. The North-South divide. And Mexico ultimately won the match 2-1. USA struck first in the 4th minute, I believe. It was really, really soon. And I was thinking, okay, look, US of A. 4th of July, it just happened, so we're feeling good. But Mexico dominated the game, dominated time of possession, put more shots on goal. They looked like the better team 90 plus minutes of that game. And it was one of those games you knew, even when the US was winning, that they were going to lose. And maybe you can relate to this. As a fan of teams that have not been very good, I've seen a lot of games where I'm like, I know my team's going to lose this game. I just know it because they don't look good. They don't look good out there. Something's off. Something's not clicking. And that was the issue with the United States. Yeah, they made it to the final, but very disappointing, in my opinion. I think a Gold Cup title here would have given them all the momentum into the world going into the World Cup next year, but don't let their heads get too low because opportunity is still out there and you should go get it. I want to talk about some winners and some losers in this entire tournament. So I'll talk about 3 countries that are winners and 3 countries that are losers. And what I mean by that is, going into the tournament, every team has expectations for themselves, but also outside expectations from us fans, from us media professionals that are put on them. And obviously the United States had big expectations. Mexico had big expectations. Some of these smaller teams, though, like El Salvador and Curacao and Guadeloupe, low expectations. So keeping that in account with expectations and then with their actual results, I'm going to be telling you about 3 winners and 3 losers in this Gold Cup tournament. So let's start with the winners. First and foremost, Mexico. They won. They're literally the winner. Mexico went through their group, did very well, even tied a very good Panama team. And so they did their job. They were good. Mexico gets the dub. They win the Gold Cup. They get a dub from Kyle. Next country, Guatemala. Now, Guatemala was probably the biggest surprise of the tournament. They came in with low expectations, like I mentioned, and they came out of their group and made it into the next round. So very impressive from Guatemala. They ultimately surpassed so many expectations, and I was genuinely impressed. Let's see here. Guatemala was in Group C, and yeah, they won 2 games. Their only loss being to Panama, which was a very good team. And they advanced to the knockout stage. They upsetted Jamaica. Many people thought Jamaica would go through, but it was Panama who went through. It was Guatemala that went through. So, for them. Don't know if they'll actually make the World Cup, but a lot of confidence built in this Guatemala team moving forward. Another dub I'm giving to Honduras. Honduras was another one of those teams where they're like, okay, they could make some noise. They're kind of in an easy group per se with Curacao and El Salvador and Canada. So they're thinking, okay, Honduras will probably get through, but you never quite know. Honduras does get through. They go to the knockout stage, and they upset Panama. This is why they get the W, because they took out Panama. Panama was one of the favorites to win. Honestly, I was thinking if Panama could get past Mexico in the semifinals, I think that they would have beaten the United States or whoever else would have come out at the top of the bracket. So I was really liking what I was seeing from Panama, but they lose to Honduras in penalty kicks, and Honduras moves to the next round, ultimately drops to Mexico, but making the semifinals, Honduras, you get a W from me. Now let's go to the teams that get the L's. I'm going to give an L to Panama. Speaking of Panama, and they won their group. They got in the quarterfinals, but again, their expectations, not even just from me, but from others, was that they could potentially win this. And it would be great. It'd be like the first time a team other than the United States and Mexico wins this. Canada won it in like 2000. But pretty much no other team has won the Gold Cup. It's been Mexico and the United States. And this was Panama's year to do it. If they could have gotten past Mexico, they would have beaten the United States with how turbulent the United States team and roster has been. But they lost to Honduras in penalty kicks. They can't even get out of the quarterfinals. Ultimately, disappointing. I give them an L. Another team that I'm giving an L, my second home, Canada. Oh, Canada, boy. And right before Canada Day, too, they lost on June 29th, 2 days before your National Independence Day. Boy, Canada, oh, Canada. Same thing. They were in a very favorable group, with Honduras being the only other team that was comparable. They had El Salvador and Curacao. You guys don't even know where Curacao is. I've been there. It's a beautiful place. But soccer is not their thing, let me tell you. And Canada gets through this easy group, but then they get to the quarterfinals and drop to Guatemala. Now, all the props in the world to Guatemala. I've already given them their dub, but Canada, you can't lose to Guatemala. Like, come on, bro. That game also went to penalty kicks. Interestingly enough, 3 of the 4 quarterfinal games went to penalty kicks, which is a little interesting factoid. But Guatemala beats Canada. Canada, I had high hopes for you. Yeah, maybe you'd probably lose to the United States, honestly, in the semifinals. But if you were to get past the United States in the semifinals and go to the final, I'd give you a dub, even if you ended up losing to Mexico or Panama or even Honduras. You know what I mean? Like, I'd give you the dub, but you couldn't get out of the quarterfinals. You lost to a Guatemala team that, frankly, as good as they played in this tournament, frankly, aren't that good. So, Canada, you get an L. And then the last team to get the L, yes, back in my own country, I'm giving it to the United States of America because the expectations were that you win this Gold Cup. You go out there and prove to the world that the United States of America is a soccer nation that can win North America. Frankly, North America compared to Europe, compared to South America, the competition's not as good. You think of teams like Brazil, you think of Germany, you think of England, you think of Spain. These teams, Belgium even, Argentina, Uruguay, these teams, the Netherlands, are a lot better than Guatemala's, than El Salvador's, than Costa Rica, than Honduras, than Panama. You know what I mean? So the United States could not get the job done. Again, they looked terrible in the final match against Mexico. If they would have won, I would have given them the dub, but I still would have been like, okay, a win's a win, but you got to shake things up. They still have to shake things up for the World Cup starting in 2026. Keep your eye on that with teams qualifying. It should be super fun. We're going to have great coverage next year about the World Cup. I'm super stoked. I'm hoping to go to one of the matches or one of the venues. The venues are all across the United States, some in Canada, some in Mexico. Should be super fun. I'm super excited. Little quick update on Wimbledon. The semifinals are set, and we have an American tennis player in the semifinals. Taylor Fritz, who's ranked 5th in the world, will be playing Carlos Alcaraz, who is 2nd in the world, on Friday. Now, Alcaraz coming off the French Open winnings, so he's playing good. Alcaraz has not really had any trouble with any opponents here in Wimbledon. The other semifinals matchups should be awesome. Jakub Sinner and Djokovic from Serbia. So that one should be fun. That match is also on Friday. If I were to call it now, and I called it earlier, I called Alcaraz winning it, so I'm still going to call Alcaraz to win the Wimbledon 2025. I think it would be interesting if Sinner won and we had a little rematch. It'd be cool if Taylor Fritz got there as well, but I think Alcaraz is just too good, and he's going to get the job done. On the women's side, again, I mentioned last week, Coco Gauff got out in the first round. So you have Sablenka from Belarus, who's ranked number 1 in the world. And then you have American, I've actually never heard of this girl, Anisimova. She's playing against Sablenka, that's tomorrow. And then Swiatek from Poland, she's ranked 8th in the world, is playing against Swiss tennis player Benesic. I don't know if I said those right, but again, tennis is not my forte, but I love watching a good Grand Slam tournament, Wimbledon, French Open, Australian, US Open. On the women's side, I'm taking Sablenka. Since Coco Gauff's not there to stop her, I think Sablenka wins this one. Should be fun to watch. Again, those semifinals are tomorrow on the women's side, Friday for the men's side. Okay, for all my Utah Jazz fans, let's talk Utah Jazz Summer League. So they do a little mini league that lasts 4 days. You just team up with 3 other teams and you play each team once, round robin style. So they hold Summer League here in Salt Lake City, Utah. And the Utah Jazz had the opportunity to show off rookies Ace Bailey, Walter Clayton Jr., and John Tonje, even though John Tonje actually didn't get any chance to play. But Ace Bailey played and Walter Clayton Jr. played. They also brought back players that they drafted from last year. So Kyle Filipowski was out there. Isaiah Collier was out there. Cody Williams was out there. Bryce Sensabaugh. So they have these guys from a couple years ago coming in and playing and just showing what they got. The Jazz went 3-0. They won all of their games, which is very impressive. Ace Bailey looked very good. The first game he was so-so, maybe a little bit of nerves, a little bit of jitters. Only scored 8 points on 3 of 13 shooting. But in the second game, 35 minutes, he put up 18 points, 7 rebounds, went 3 for 5 from downtown, and scored 50% from the field. So very good. Bryce Sensabaugh, 37 points, 6 for 9 from downtown. Man, is he going to have a fantastic year or what? We'll have to see. But Kyle Filipowski also played very well. Isaiah Collier played very well. Cody Williams had a good couple games. So, I mean, again, it is just Summer League. So what that is just the rookies and the second-year guys and guys who are trying to make the roster are out there playing. So it will be really interesting to see once the regular season starts in October. You know, are these guys going to be ready for the bright lights. Are these guys going to do well against some of these more seasoned players, these professional players? I'm excited, though, regardless. My expectations for the Jazz aren't super high. I do think that they'll win more games than they did last year, especially if they're trying not to tank anymore. You throw in guys like Lauri Markkanen, Walker Kessler, unfortunately Jordan Clarkson, Colin Sexton, and John Collins are all gone. But you throw these more seasoned guys in with some of these rookies, and it could be very interesting. So keep your eye on the Utah Jazz. Keep your eye on the rest of the NBA as we go throughout the rest of the the off season. All right, I want to end on one last thing. Let's talk a little bit of baseball here. The All-Star Weekend is actually coming up next week. I might mention it next week. I might not. If you want to get a look at the full roster of the MLB All-Star Game, you can look it up. It's kind of turned into the NBA All-Star Game where it's not as competitive, or even like the Pro Bowl, you know what I mean? Like they get up there and they try to win, but it's not what it used to be. All-Star games used to be competitive. They used to mean something, but now it's just like an excuse to hang out with your buds, on national television. So, but I want to talk about some of the most surprising teams and some of the most disappointing teams so far at the midway point in this MLB season. Let me know down below which team surprised you the most. So a team that is surprising everyone and is having a fantastic season, the Detroit Tigers. Tarek Skubal, one of their best pitcher. The Detroit Tigers get an A+. They're on top of the AL Central. They're doing very well. Can they replicate a very good second half after a very good first half? We'll see, but they're looking very good. Former number one picks Casey Mintz and Spencer Torkelson. This is what should happen in a rebuild. Now, again, I'm against tanking, but baseball is different. It's harder to tank in baseball because baseball, if you're not good, you're not good, and it's pretty obvious. And the Tigers weren't very good for a couple years, so they got a couple number one picks. They're able to build up these guys, get them through their minor league system, single A, double A, triple A, get them on the field, and now they're thriving. So the Detroit Tigers doing very well. Very surprised to see them this high. Another team that may be surprising you, the Toronto Blue Jays. Now the Blue Jays have kind of been in the postseason. They've kind of been up and down throughout the years. They haven't really been that bad in recent years. But still, AL East with teams like the Yankees and the Boston Red Sox had high hopes this season. Orioles had a very good last couple years, but they're now having a bad year. The Rays are always in the mix, so a very competitive division. And the Toronto Blue Jays are on top of that division, ahead of the Yankees, ahead of the Red Sox, ahead of the Rays, ahead of the Orioles. And yeah, they're doing good. Their bats are working, and no complaints there. Surprising team number 2. Surprising team number 3, I just mentioned them, the Tampa Bay Rays. Now, the Rays went to the World Series in 2020, but that was 5 years ago during COVID, and none of you were watching. I bet nobody knows. You don't even know Tampa Bay's Rays fans. I don't know any Tampa Bay Rays fans. Do they even exist outside of the city of Tampa? I don't know. But this is a fun team to watch. I watched a game the other day, and most of the players, I don't know who they are, but they are good. And this is a team that you should keep your eye on, currently in the wild card spot out of the AL. So keep an eye on them. Hopefully they can continue to surge in the second half and make the postseason. Okay, now let me share 3 teams that are just not doing well. Texas Rangers. They won the World Series 2 years ago and favored to win the AL West, but they don't even have a winning record right now. They're not doing that good. Maybe they could make a run in the second half. Maybe they could surprise you in the postseason, but they might just not even get there. So the Rangers aren't doing good this year. The Cleveland Guardians are not doing very good. They just came off a 10-game losing streak. They finally won 2 games in a row, but a 10-game losing streak. This is a team that made the postseason last year, a team that had high hopes to win the AL Central this year, but now are sitting at a record, I think 42-49 or something. That's just not good enough. A couple other teams that aren't doing good, the Braves having a terrible year, the Orioles having a terrible year. There's just a lot of teams that are on the down this year that were on the up last year. They're just not quite meeting expectations. Of course, you have the teams that are just bad, straight up bad, and they're always meeting expectations. But I'm talking about teams that were good last year, were good the last couple of years, but are currently on the down. So You can check out, there's an article on ESPN. You can check out the full article there. It grades every single team so far at the mid-season. Let me know what you guys think down below. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Fan Talk. This episode was a little bit of everything. It was a little bit of a smorgasbord. Next week, we'll talk a little bit more about things coming down the pipe. The week after that, though, I will be on a cruise, so we'll take a week off. Maybe we'll take a week or two off to kind of chill out for a little bit. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching and or listening to Fan Talk. Again, this is a podcast you can find anywhere you get your podcast. We are just talking sports. If you have any great ideas or any sports you want to hear more about, I talk football heavy, basketball heavy, baseball during the summer, soccer when it's, time, college sports when it's the season. But if there's any sports or any events you wish I would cover more, let me know down below or send me a message on any of my social medias that I'll link down below. And we can do that because fan to fan, we want to cover all sports. We want to talk about what's interesting and what we see from our perspectives. And it's always a good time. So again, thank you guys so much for tuning in to Fan Talk. And I'll see you guys next week for another edition of Fan Talk.